Tonight on Closer Look, with tariffs set to be imposed on U.S. and Canadian goods starting tomorrow, what does a trade war mean for Canada? Katherine DeClerq, our editor at ParliamentToday, joins us tonight from Toronto to break it all down. Katherine, it was a very busy weekend for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his senior cabinet ministers planning a counterpunch to the impending tariffs from U.S. President Donald Trump. We'll get into all of that shortly, but let's start with, why is this happening, Katherine? How did we get here?
Yeah, that's a good question and a little bit of a long one, but in brief, part of President Donald Trump's campaign for re-election, I guess, was to impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico. So he carried out that promise over the weekend, imposing 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods except for energy. That's at 10% tariffs. And then, the Prime Minister of Canada retaliated in kind. That's kind of where we are. And there's been months and months of Canadian officials trying to meet with Donald Trump officials, U.S. officials to change their mind. But it appears as though no movement was made.
Katherine, can you explain how tariffs work and what's covered under these new tariffs?
Yeah, so tariffs, it's a little complicated, but basically an importer pays the fees of tariffs to the government who imposes them. So if you are an automaker in the U.S. and you want a part from Canada, you have to pay the 25% to the U.S. government. Companies then likely trickle that cost down to consumers. So the part that was $100 will now cost the average person $125, for example. So under these tariffs, the U.S. tariffs cover most items, most Canadian exports. The Canadian tariffs are phased. So we're starting with, meat products, fruits, vegetables, coffee, wine, liquor is about $30 billion worth of goods. And then in 3 weeks' time, if no movement is made, there will be a whole slew of other tariffs coming.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, Katherine, but is there potential that Trump could impose even more tariffs?
Absolutely. It's written right into the executive order. So it basically says if there is retaliatory action by Canada, that tariffs could be increased. So we know, and we've already hit them with retaliatory tariffs and will be again in 3 weeks. So I would say it's very likely.
All right. Now, I know the provinces are also considering non-tariff actions with the goal of encouraging President Trump to change his mind. Can you tell us what Doug Ford is doing here in Ontario?
Yeah, so he's already directed the LCBO to remove American liquor from the shelves. So a lot of Kentucky bourbon was the one that the premier, that PC leader Doug Ford mentioned by name. But yes, American liquor will no longer be sold in the LCBOs. And then he also said today that he will be canceling a contract, a $100 million contract with Elon Musk's Starlink. This is a contract to bring satellite internet to rural communities. So he says that he's going to basically break the contract, tear it up, and he's not really worried about penalties because he thinks because of the tariffs and the clauses that were in the contract that he has a legal case to do so. It's all about, Ontario Canadian-made procurement now. He pledged not to allow the Ontario government to use American companies as part of these procurements. So it's basically pushing towards Ontario-made products at this point. And other provinces have acted similarly. I know BC has also removed American liquor from their shelves. So we're going to see a lot more provincial action on top of tariffs as well.
All right. Now, the big question, Katherine, that's on everyone's mind, and for good reason. What will this mean for the Canadian economy? Could these tariffs push us closer towards a recession?
That's what a lot of economists believe. They say within 6 months, if there is this full-out tariff war, which it seems to be happening as we speak, we could, by mid-2025, be in a recession. We're also going to see inflation rise, and just the cost of products will be a lot higher. That trickle-down effect that we were talking about, companies are just going to have to start raising their prices so that these tariffs don't impact their bottom line that badly. So the cost of food, cars especially, a whole slew of products are going to be a little more expensive.
Finally, Catherine, a new CNN poll out today shows that only 38% of Americans are in favor of tariffs. In fact, 51% are opposed. Is there a chance this could actually backfire on the U.S. president?
There is. I mean, I think the ramifications are so big for both the United States and Canada that I'm sure there are some states, especially states that sell products that are going to be tariffed by the Canadian government, who will be upset. I know that today the Prime Minister has already had a call with President Trump, and I think another one is scheduled for later this afternoon. Who knows if that means there's movement, or, this is the first time the two leaders have spoken since tariffs were imposed. But I don't know, there could be movement. I think the ramifications of this are still unclear for a lot of people, and as it draws out, perhaps minds can be changed.
Katherine DeClerq, our editor at Parliament Today, on tonight's Closer Look.